Hello, my name is Mary, and I am 42 years old. For the past 10 years, I have been married to my husband, Charles. We first met at work, where we shared long hours and countless small conversations that gradually grew into something deeper. Back then, we worked in the same office, sharing desks, ideas, and even lunchtime banter. Over time, our paths diverged slightly, and now we are employed at different branches of the same company. Still, those early memories remain vivid to me, reminders of a time when everything felt simple and full of promise. Charles has always been admired by others. At work, he is known for his reliability and strong sense of responsibility. His colleagues respect him, not only for his work ethic but also for his charisma. He carries himself with a kind of quiet confidence, ambitious, determined, and always intent on making a lasting impression. In contrast, I have always been the quieter one, someone who blends into the background rather than stepping into the spotlight. I never imagined that someone like Charles, with his commanding presence and dynamic personality, would take an interest in me. Yet, he did. Our courtship lasted 3 years. Charles's way of expressing affection was both grand and thoughtful. I still remember the day he proposed, standing before me with a bouquet of deep red roses, their fragrance filling the air. His eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made me feel cherished beyond measure. Without hesitation, I accepted, brimming with joy and eager anticipation for the life we would build together. But soon after the glow of engagement faded, Charles revealed a twist in our plans. He wanted us to live with his parents. The words unsettled me. It wasn't what I had pictured for my married life. I had imagined a home of our own, a place where our bond could grow freely without interference. But Charles, ever persuasive, assured me that his parents were warm and welcoming. They're excited about having us there, he had said, his tone full of conviction. Reluctantly, and against the unease I felt in my heart, I agreed. That decision changed everything. For the past 8 years, I have lived in what was once solely my husband's home, now shared with my in-laws. My mornings begin before dawn. At 6 o'clock sharp, I am awake, preparing to manage the endless stream of household chores. My mother-in-law, sharp-eyed and critical, always seems to find fault. She points out tiny imperfections, from the way I sweep the floor to how I polish the front door. Even when I prepare breakfast for the entire household, her complaints pierce the air before she leaves for work, leaving me flustered and scrambling to correct whatever she disapproved of. Though she spends most of her days at home, she contributes little to the running of the house. The weight of responsibility falls on me, cooking, cleaning, tidying, caring, and after spending a full day at my own job, I return home to prepare dinner, often collapsing into bed with exhaustion before I've even had the chance to think of anything else. The cycle is relentless. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law lounges comfortably in the living room, savoring the breakfast I labored over, reminding me in a condescending tone, "Keep the house spotless. The neighbors must always think well of us." My father-in-law keeps himself detached, burying his nose in the newspaper, pretending not to notice the tension that simmers in the household. And Charles, my partner, the man who once held my heart so tenderly, remains silent, offering no support when conflicts arise. Years of this routine have taken a devastating toll. My body reflects the strain. I have grown gaunt, my strength diminished. My menstrual cycle has ceased altogether, a cruel reminder of the dreams of motherhood slipping further away. Yet, despite knowing how her behavior has worn me down, my mother-in-law points the finger of blame at me, accusing me of being the reason Charles and I have no children. I barely recognize myself anymore. Once, I took pride in my appearance. I delighted in small rituals, choosing a dress carefully, styling my hair, wearing light makeup that made me feel confident. Now, when I look into the mirror, I see a pale, hollow version of the woman I used to be. My mother-in-law's unrelenting criticism, coupled with my husband's indifference, has chipped away at my sense of self until I feel like nothing more than a shadow, silent, submissive, and numb. Then came the phone call that shattered what little strength I had left. My father had passed away, suddenly, unexpectedly, in a tragic accident. The news struck me like a bolt of lightning. Regret surged through me, choking me. I had not visited him in so long. Every time I had spoken of wanting to go, Charles and his mother discouraged me, their disapproval weighing heavier than my own longing. Now it was too late. Tears stung my eyes as I told Charles and my mother-in-law that I needed to attend my father's funeral, but before I could finish speaking, their response came, cold and sharp. "We're not going. Let your family handle it." Their callousness left me trembling with fury and grief. My voice, small and broken, could only whisper one word: understood. At the funeral, I was surrounded by people who loved and respected my father. The sheer number of mourners was a testament to the man he had been: hardworking, generous, and deeply cherished by many. My mother, frail with sorrow, nearly collapsed when she saw me. "Mary, what happened? You look so thin. Are you sick?" she cried, clutching me as tears filled her eyes. "No, Mom, I'm not sick," I said softly, though inside I felt as though I were dying in slow motion. Her worry pierced me deeply. For the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of true concern and love directed at me, and it made me reflect on the hollow existence I had endured under my in-laws' roof. For so long, I had been deprived of comfort, support, and compassion, even during this most painful moment. That night, in a quiet corner of the house, I opened my heart to my mother. I confessed the torment I endured at home, the endless bullying from my mother-in-law, the silence of my father-in-law, and Charles's inability, or unwillingness, to shield me. Her face darkened with worry. "Mary, I'm glad you're not physically ill, but this is worse. Is this why you've stayed away?" I nodded, ashamed and weary. She reached into her bag and handed me an envelope. "Take a look at this," she urged, "then think carefully about your next steps." It was my father's will. He had always been a cautious man, planning ahead even for things no one wished to think about. As I unfolded the paper and began to read, my eyes widened, my hands trembled as I reached a line that changed everything. $5 million. An inheritance beyond anything I had ever imagined. The weight of despair that had pressed on me for years seemed to lift. If only for a moment, I felt a spark ignite inside me, hope, fragile but real. With that money, I could finally build a home of my own. I could leave the suffocating walls of my in-laws' house. I could begin anew. The thought filled me with a rush of excitement and relief I hadn't felt in years. Back at my in-laws' home, the same routine awaited me, but now my mind was alive with possibilities. I performed my chores distractedly, often letting things slip, and the house grew messier. No one else stepped in. Still, I didn't care. My thoughts were consumed with visions of independence, of freedom, of life lived on my own terms. And yet, despite it all, despite the resentment that had built over the years, my heart clung to Charles. I still loved him. I still wanted a life with him, if only we could escape his parents' grip. One evening, after his parents had gone to bed, I sat across from Charles. My heart pounded as I prepared to speak. "There's something I need to talk about," I began, my voice steady though my palms were damp with nervousness. He looked at me curiously, his expression softening. "What is it?" "It's about my father," I said, swallowing hard. "I've come into an inheritance." His eyebrows lifted. "Oh, how much?" $5 million, I whispered. His eyes widened in astonishment, flickers of excitement darting across his face. "He left you that much? That's incredibly generous." Relief spread through me as I saw the admiration in his expression. But then, after a pause, his tone shifted. "We should discuss how we might use this money," he said slowly. This was the moment I had waited for, the chance to finally speak of moving out, of starting fresh. My words were at the tip of my tongue when Charles leaned forward, his eyes glinting with something I could not yet name, and interjected with a revelation so shocking. When Charles declared, "We need to transfer that money to my mom's bank account right away," I sat frozen, unable to believe the words that had just come out of his mouth. At first, I truly thought he must be joking. My lips curled into a nervous laugh. "Why would we do that? The inheritance is mine. It came from my father. It wouldn't be right to give it to your mom." But Charles didn't even smile. His expression hardened. And then, with startling force, he slammed his hand on the table. The loud crack made me jump. "What are you talking about? A wife's money belongs to her mother-in-law," he snapped. I stared at him in disbelief. His words were so absurd that I struggled to comprehend if he was serious. Yet the intensity in his eyes sent a cold shiver down my spine. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand," I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. In truth, all I wanted was to share my dream, to build a home for just the two of us, free from the suffocating grip of his parents. But Charles refused to let me finish. His voice drowned mine out, over and over, insisting that the inheritance belonged to his mother. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding with shock and dread. By morning, my fears materialized. As I stood in the kitchen making breakfast, the sound of footsteps approached, heavy and deliberate. Charles and my mother-in-law appeared, their faces dark with anger. "Mary, I heard about it," my mother-in-law barked, her eyes narrowing. "You inherited $5 million, and you said you won't give it to me? Who do you think you are?" Her voice dripped with scorn. It was obvious that Charles had already told her everything. "Stop arguing and transfer it to my account now," she demanded, her tone sharp and commanding. "A daughter-in-law's money is our money." Their words hit me like daggers. No matter how I tried to reason, they wouldn't listen. They circled me like predators, pressing and pressing until my protests died on my lips. For the first time in years, I felt something break inside me. Then Charles pulled out a document, his lips curled into a cruel smile. "You're getting carried away because you've come into some money," he sneered. "I'm the one who's been supporting you. If you don't change your attitude, it's divorce." He slammed the paper on the table. My eyes widened. It was a divorce form, already signed by him. "Take this," he said coldly. "Go back to your parents' house. If you apologize properly, I might reconsider." My hand trembled as I picked up the paper, and in that moment, a flood of memories rushed through me, the endless chores, the belittling remarks, the lack of appreciation, the exhaustion that gnawed at my body, and the silent tears I shed at night. I had given them everything, my youth, my energy, my love, yet in their eyes, I was nothing more than a servant. And now, they even wanted to rob me of the last gift my father had left me. But as I held the divorce papers, a strange calm washed over me. For the first time, I realized that perhaps this wasn't a punishment, it was an escape. That evening, after work, I walked back into my parents' home. The moment I stepped through the door, I called out softly, "I'm home." My mother appeared almost instantly, her eyes lighting up. "Welcome back, my dear," she said warmly, guiding me to the dining table where a home-cooked meal awaited. The sight of steaming rice, fragrant stew, and neatly arranged side dishes overwhelmed me. It had been so long since I had eaten food prepared with love rather than duty. As I lifted the first spoonful, tears filled my eyes. The taste carried me back to simpler times, to safety, to love. "Did you tell your husband about the inheritance?" my mother asked gently. I nodded. "Yes, and it caused quite a stir," I admitted. My voice broke as I recounted every word, every demand, every cruel gesture. Her face paled with shock. For a while, she said nothing, only holding my hand tightly. Finally, she whispered, "The inheritance belongs to you, and you alone should decide your future." Her reassurance crumbled the last of my defenses. I wept openly in her arms, releasing years of pain and frustration. For the next week, I stayed with her. She cared for me, cooked for me, and reminded me of who I was before I had been swallowed by my in-laws' household. Slowly, strength began to return to me. And with that strength, I made a decision. One morning, as I packed my bag, I told her, "I'm heading back now. Take care of yourself, Mom." Her worried eyes searched mine, but I gave her a reassuring smile. This time, I wasn't returning as the submissive daughter-in-law they knew. I was returning with resolve. When I entered the in-laws' house, Charles and his mother were waiting, arms crossed, faces stern. "Have you reflected on your behavior?" they demanded. "Yes," I replied smoothly. "I apologize. Please allow me to stay in this house again." My mother-in-law's face lit up with smug satisfaction. "Well then, hand over the inheritance quickly." Feigning helplessness, I sighed. "The process is taking longer than expected. I haven't received it yet. It might take another 7 months or so." "7 months? That long?" she muttered, displeased. But eventually she nodded, clearly satisfied that the money was still on its way. Of course, they had no idea that I had no intention of ever handing it over. Days passed, filled with the same nagging, the same complaints, but now, I felt nothing. Their words no longer cut into me. I moved like a shadow through the house, calm and detached. Then came my mother-in-law's birthday. As always, she went on a celebratory trip, leaving me behind. Before leaving, she turned to me with her usual arrogance. By the way, the inheritance is supposed to come in today. Don't forget to transfer it to my account before we return. Her timing couldn't have been more suspicious. I forced a smile. Of course. Take care and enjoy your trip. The moment the door closed behind them, my mask fell. I moved quickly, heart pounding, as I packed my belongings into bags. Years of suppressed pain fueled every step. By the time they returned, the house would be empty, and I would be gone, forever.